You are about to listen to Upon the Rock broadcast with Pastor Lauren Shakir of Foundation of the World Church. It is our prayer that each teaching will help build a godly foundation in your life. Please be sure to visit the church website at thefoundedworld.org for further information about this ministry and to view more teachings. Now, here is today's message.
So when it comes to ministry, we want to make sure that we are have the right kind of etiquette. You know, I think people get into ministry with one idea, and if they're not careful, the reality smacks them in the face, and then they feel as though that God did not call them, and they start walking away and they start abandoning things, and they get touchy. I talked about offense before, and I think it's some truth to even when it comes to ministry. You know, you have this expectation, and if it doesn't happen, you kind of get offended at God. You know, and offense works actually in three dimensions. It works with disappointment first, then offense that festers, and then abandonment is third. And you can always see that kind of trend that if somebody gets disappointed, you can bet if they don't deal with it, they go sit there and seethe, and offense will start to build up. And then they start making little sneak remarks, or they start stepping back a little bit, they start stepping back a little more, and as soon as you know it, they're out the door, or they abandon the situation. So I think if we can kind of take it on the beginning, offense wouldn't have a room to grow. Y'all get it? So that's why it's always so important that whatever you do, make sure that you recognize there's going to be some disappointment involved, but you can't allow it to grow into offense. Okay? So one of the things that's concerning me, and she touched on it in prayer, is that a lot of times we don't know how to stay in the area that God calls us to stay in. A better way of saying that is, can you be loyal to what God has given you? A loyal factor. I want to call this a loyal spirit. But it's a spirit, but it's also part of your behavior. So the teaching I got today is just simply called loyal. Loyal. In other words, and in this teaching, I'm kind of just going to speak from my heart, okay? I'm going to have scriptures, but I'm also going to have you can look them up. But for the most part, it's just loyal. Where are the loyal people? Because sometimes we can be loyal if it has something to do with us. But can we be loyal to something that's bigger than us? And I think that's what's missing, where a lot of ministries cannot be what they can be because they don't have enough loyalty. You hear what I'm saying? And this happens everywhere. It's not just in churches, but it's also in businesses and families, and everything that you're trying to do that's bigger than you, you're going to need loyalty in order to do it. Okay? You're going to need somebody who sees what you're doing and say, how can I help push this thing? You see what I'm saying? And if you don't have that, you stand a risk of actually just kind of just giving up because you don't think God is providing. So one of my prayers that I often pray is, Lord, send us good, loyal people that we can lean on, you know. And sometimes, you know, it's some growing pains. You get some, and then you get others, and then sometimes you mix them in. You don't know which one is loyal. You know. So there's this characteristic that I want to kind of attempt to kind of talk about. But everybody just say this word loyal. Say loyal.
Loyal.
Now, loyal is a word that's really not used too much in our culture, because we can say the word, but it's actually not really demonstrated in everyday things. So I got a scripture here. The Bible talks about many a man proclaims his own loyalty and goodness, but a faithful man who can find? He's basically saying that there's a lot of people that can say, I'm loyal, I'm loyal, I'm loyal. But the Bible also says, who can really find one who's truly loyal, who's truly faithful? How many of y'all have ever had people try to come up to you and they try to sell themselves as somebody who is, you can depend on me. And then you keep looking long enough and it's like, ooh, you know, because the loyalty factor wasn't there. Now they can say a good thing, they can claim that, but the proof is in the pudding. when it's get tough and you still see that person still doing what they're doing, that's loyalty. And I think it's a lot of things missing in the body of Christ when it just comes to loyalty. Now, you all know when I talk to you, I'm talking to you and I'm talking to the internet audience. But when it comes to most people that I hear on the internet or whatever, they talking about, I'm called to be ministry, they have never been loyal to anybody. And I think that's kind of a concerning, because there's nothing wrong with you jumping out into ministry. But I think it's something to be said if you haven't helped or been loyal to anybody. And, you know, we want God to bless our ministry and do this and everything, and we want to be wonderful, but have you been loyal anywhere? And I think that's one of the things that's missing in our culture, is because I know we're conditioned to just really just focus on just us, you know. I don't want to focus on anybody else because I need to get this thing out. This is for me, you know. And as much as I understand that, I also understand that sometimes you have to kind of put what you have. Now I can speak for this because I've done this. I had to many times put my ministry on hold to help and be loyal to other pastors. Now, I'm not saying that people have to just stop everything they're doing. I'm just saying that if God is trying to put something in you, a lot of times he checks your loyalty factor. Y'all get it? And I think that's, you know, I hope nobody gets offended by watching this, but if they get offended, I mean, that's something you got to deal with. But if you don't have any kind of loyalty for anybody except yourself, then you stand a very strong chance of not surviving in ministry. So the Bible talks about there's a lot of people that can say they're loyal and they're good, but you really can't find a faithful person. Somebody that's just there all the time, the good and the bad. You need loyal people, because when you start ministry and that going gets tough, you need to be able to say, thank God I got somebody I can lean on. Why did Jesus send out people, his disciples, 2 by 2s? Because he knows it's going to be discouraging. And so we get very excited about the ministry and jumping in and doing our ministry, and 2020 is my year and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But I want to submit that if you don't have any loyalty factors, you may fizzle out faster than you think. Okay, so look at what this next scripture is. Be diligent in these matters, give yourself wholly to them, so that everyone may see your progress. In other words, once you start something, it's going to be a beginning, it's going to be a middle, and it's going to be an end. But he says right here, people are going to see your progress. You see what I'm saying? It's okay to share your wounds, like she was talking about in prayer this morning. You know, sometimes because of that bad thing that you're ashamed about, people need to see that progress, so they won't be like, okay, God is only calling the perfect people. People need to see that you only got 2 or 3 people in your ministry, or they need to see the small beginnings. And I know how it feels to be ashamed, to like, no, don't show that. But you know what? Sometimes it's healthy for people to see that you don't have it all together, but you're in the progress or the process. So it's like, okay, Lord, thank you, Lord, I'm in the process. I don't have it all together. Yes, I wish I had a larger crowd. I would love for us to, you know, preach to different people and have altar calls and have all these different things. But right now, it looks like we don't have that. So I'm in the process, and I'm going to be diligent in that, you know. And I think we have to remind ourselves that I can be loyal even when it doesn't look right, because it's very easy to be loyal when everything is real nice and big and exciting. Yeah, it's like you can wake up the bed and you got loyalty for breakfast. But can you still be loyal when it don't look like things are moving? That's what shows you who you really are, that you can still roll out the bed and give it all you got. You know, you keep going. So loyalty is rare, because in our culture today, a lot of people do a lot of good talking, but you really can't find the loyal people. What are loyal people at? What are I almost went there. y'all know what I'm about to say. Okay. What did he say? What did Eminem say? What a real one, please, yeah, Slim Shady, please stand up. What a real, she caught it. Right when I said it, she caught it. I saw it when it hit her. She caught it. Would a real loyalty, the real Slim Shady, please stand up. The rest of y'all, it's several seats. Go find a seat and pick one. Just sit down somewhere. But the loyal people, they always rise to the top. And you can always tell who the loyal people are because they can be just as exhausted, they can be just as tired, they can be just as frustrated, but something inside of them keeps on moving. And the Bible talks about many a man claims to be faithful, but a faithful man who can find. But he talks about that they are going to continue in that process. And I don't know about you all, but I want to be one of those loyal people that even though it can get tough, and even though you don't want to, sometimes you don't even know what the next step is, but you're just loyal to the process. Okay? So you all know this person right here. I know the picture is probably maybe confusing, but this is Elijah on Mount Carmel. Okay? Elijah is one of those prophets. When I looked at him, it's a little weird. I'm sorry, I need to turn on my podcast. I had all of this going, preaching all that stuff, didn't even have this podcast going, but they was recording. It's fine on here. This is just backup now. I know in the hotel days we had to rely on this, but now we got all of this fancy equipment. Elijah is one of my favorite characters because he's a guy who came out of nowhere. When it comes to Isaiah's call, you can see Isaiah's call in Isaiah chapter 6. He said, who shall we send, And he took the coals and said, see, I'm sending you out and all this. You see Jeremiah, before I formed you in the belly. You see these beginnings of these prophets. Don't say that you're young, and all of this. And then you see, Ezekiel's call. You see Daniel's call. You see all these beginnings. But when it comes to Elijah, he kind of came out of nowhere. He made his debut in the Bible by just saying, it's not going to rain until I say so. And like, God, dog, who is this guy? But you know what? He struck me as a guy who's not Mr. Personality. If you look at it, sometimes when you study the Bible, you can kind of pick up on people's character. And Elijah is one of those guys, he doesn't really say too much. Otherwise, there's no such thing like the book of Elijah and all this. He wasn't a talker. He's a doer. And Elijah was one of those guys that says, this is wrong, and until I say so, it's not going to be fixed. And it's like, we got to find this guy because he don't do a lot of talking. So they all freaked out because this is a man of power and just results. And he had all this stuff going down. You know the story about the showdown on Mount Carmel, right? So he had all of these 450 prophets of Baal. And he said, if the Lord is the Lord, then serve him. If not, then, serve, the Baals. And we get to the point, and I'm just going to kind of just do a little pictures here. He called down, he let the Baal prophets do their little thing. I'm just saying it, even though I know you all know the story. I'm up here to say it, just couldn't give everybody just on one accord. So anyway, the Baals spent all day trying to call on their God, no fire. Call on God, no fire. Elijah's turn, he drenched the sacrifice with all these gallons of water. He dug trenches and everything, and he called on the Lord one time, and the fire fell down, lifted up the water, and burned up the sacrifice, right? And then he ended up killing the 450 prophets. All right, so we know that as this guy is powerful. And the very next moment, Jezebel said, you killed all my prophets, I'm about to kill you. So we see Mount Carmel, and then he runs into a cave. Well, actually before the cave, he ran to a broom tree where he asked the Lord to kill him. So this is what I got out of that. You got the Mount Carmel, and you got the broom tree. And I think every single minister has a Mount Carmel experience where you're calling down fire, you're anointed, people getting healed, people getting delivered, and then all of a sudden you drive home, and there's the broom tree, where it's like, Lord, kill me. Lord, I'm the only one. I know that was in the cave, he said this too though. But he went to the broom tree, and he said, I'm done with this. I'm tired. And, nobody really talks about the broom tree experience. It's the thing that sweeps you away. We love to talk about the Mount Carmel because it's nice and it's sweet and it's exciting. But every minister has a Mount Carmel and a broom tree. You go home kind of like, what is this? I've done all the things you tell me to do. Everybody's excited and everybody's lifting their hands and such got healed and this person came in with crutches and they get all of that exciting, sweet stuff. But here comes the broom. And it's like all of that energy is like spent. And you need somebody to lean on. And Elijah at this time was running solo. He left his servant there because when Jezebel threatened him, he just left his servant. I mean, he just left him. And he ran into a cave. He drove him into a cave, and he says, Lord, I'm the only one here that's doing this still. And sometimes when you're doing ministry, a lot of times you may feel a little isolated, like you're the only one that's still hanging on to the faith. The only one still trying to preach the gospel, whatever. And God said, boy, shut up. I got 7,000 who you don't know about, who have never bowed their knee. I know sometimes when you're doing the Mount Carmel thing, it's exciting and you're the only one because you were the only prophet up there against all those other prophets, but don't you worry about it. I got 7,000 reserved for myself. So in other words, you're not as alone as you think. Sometimes you got to find your tribe. You got to find a place where people can see the things that you see and connect with them. Because the broom tree is real. It really is. If you want scripture on that, I got it it's in 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 4, if you're looking for the broom tree. But I looked at the broom tree because I've been there several times, and every now and then the broom tree sweeps past me and say, ain't nobody listening to you. You know, your heyday was when you was doing all of this, that's the Mount Carmel, but the broom tree kind of comes in and you like, Lord, what am I doing? You know? And I think ministers have to recognize that you're going to have Mount Carmel experiences, but you also going to have broom tree experiences. And you got how you handle the broom tree experience will determine the next level of your ministry. Because the broom's destiny is to sweep you away so you can be forgotten. All of these anointed people, they give up on the call. All these churches that close, 8,000 churches close every year. Every year, 8,000. Ministers give up because of burnout. And it's like, where are the people that will be loyal and help and push them so that the Mount Carmel experience will not just be that. And when the brooms come in, somebody says, don't worry, I got this. And so I'm going to talk about four things that when it comes to loyalty, a loyal spirit, that we probably should look at, because again, there's going to be people that's going to close churches next year, and there's going to be a whole bunch of people that's going to open. And it's like this revolving door, because we're all going to have to face the Mount Carmel and the broom tree. We all got to face it. But we can't just stay on the sweet mountain all the time. We got to learn how to handle the broom tree. So one of the things that I want to talk to you all about is it's four things. The first one is instinct. You got to have instinct when it comes to being loyal, because some people's ministry, this is what I really want to say, some people's ministry is designed to help somebody else. I mean, that is their ministry. Until God says, of course, God is going to take from faith to faith, glory to glory. But for a long time, my ministry was to help somebody else. You know? People say, you've been in ministry for 20 years? What happened? Well, most of those years, I was helping somebody else. I mean, this church is probably, going on 4 years old, 5 now, of us just doing this. But all of that other time, I was helping other pastors. And I was being loyal to them. And I put this church on hold so many years, helping other people. But sometimes, you know, in our culture, we don't like that. Ooh, I don't want to put my thing on hold to help you. People don't want that. But I am trying to tell you, there's great growth if you can learn how to be instinctual and knowing when to assist and when to pull back. Now, everybody's loyalty is not going to be at 100%. That's just the way it is. Some people's loyalty is at 50%. Some people's loyalty is at 35 or 60 or whatever. But my point is, wherever your loyalty is, make sure you fulfill all of that loyalty. Okay? You may not be the 100%, but whatever your loyalty factor is, fulfill the whole thing. Because you just have no idea who's dependent on that level of ministry. So instinct. This is a story. I'm not going to go into the chapters. You can read it in 2 Kings chapter 1. You had one of the kings, I think his name is Amaziah or Azariah, one of those names. He fell through the roof of his palace, and then he fell on the ground and got crippled, and he told his servants, go ask the prophets of Baal, am I going to live? And then our boy Elijah, who always come out of nowhere, saw them going to the other prophet, and he met them on the way and says, why y'all going to that prophet? Is there no gods in Israel that you got to go somewhere else? He said, tell your master that he's going to die in that bed. I know, ooh, Jesus. But you know, Elijah's the kind of guy that don't pull any punches. You know, that's why he probably didn't write the book of Elijah, because all of us be like, God, dog. But Elijah was a doer, and he earned the right to be heard because what he has done. So he would tell them, I don't care if he is the king, tell him he's not going to live because of what he's done. So the king got mad and sent these messengers to go get Elijah off the mountain. Now, Elijah's up there on the mountain, and then these guys came up to him and said, man of God, come down off this mountain. And Elijah, I love this part. Y'all know what I'm going. Elijah said, if I'm a man of God, then let fire come down and consume all y'all. Guess what? Fire came down and consumed all of them. It's like, that's a trick question, Elijah. How you going to say that? You know you're a man of God. It's almost like you want a guy to kind of show. This is the original fire and brimstone preacher now. Yeah. He's the guy who called down fire on Mount Carmel. You don't go to him and talk about, is God with you? Because he's going to call down fire. All right, so he called down fire on two groups. The first group, they said, man of God, come down here, do what I got to say. The king wants to talk to. And he just said, if I'm a man of God, then let fire come down. And fire came down on the second group. And it killed all them. So the king sent the third person, and he said, man of God, you man of God, whatever you want, however you want to do it. He said, I'm just following orders. Please don't kill me and my 50 men. Can you please come down? Please, can you come down? And then the Lord says, okay, you can go down with him. He came the right way. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So Elijah said, okay, I'm not going to burn y'all up. I'm coming down. But I looked at that story real quick, and he walked with him, and let me go back. So he walked with this guy because this guy came the right way. And when I looked at the burnout thing, in order to avoid burnout, you got to know when to come down and when to stay on the mountain. Whenever to avoid, because you can't say yes to everything being a minister. Sometimes you're going to have to disappoint people and say no and let the fire fall. But in order to avert, because if he would have went down there with them before all of that and you know, with the first group, he would have got burnt out with the rest of them. And I have recognized when I'm ready to sit down, I'm going to sit down. I have learned that. And it's like, because I've been burnt out before, and I think a lot of ministers, we don't know how to say no. And you have to know the balance of when to sit on the mountain and when to say, no, I'm not coming down. And when it's time to come down, then you come down and do what you got to do. But you're not going to please everybody. But when it's time, like this person came with the right kind of spirit, you'll know, and then you can come down off the mountain and do what God called you to do. But God is only going to bless what he has endorsed. And if it's not time for you to do a certain thing, you have to kind of just respectfully sit back and like, okay, Lord, when do you want me to do this? Now, when it talks about loyalty, Elijah was loyal to his ministry to not go from the right hand onto the left. And I think when it comes to instinct, you got to just know. There's something about you, and I wrote down some definitions. It's not on here, but an instinct is an innate or typically a fixed pattern of behavior. You got to have a certain behavior to know when to move and when not. Now, going to loyalty when it comes to helping somebody. Because a lot of people, when they first get called to ministry, the Lord will call you to help somebody else. But you have to have instinct too. Because we all know who Elijah's next apprentice was, right? Elisha. But Elisha had to know Elijah. He can't just say, oh, you like all the other prophets. I'm going to serve you like I serve them. No. You got to know the kind of person you're serving. You understand? There ought to be something that's an instinct in you where you kind of just say, oh, okay, you're not that kind of guy. You understand? Because if you go into somebody's place, holy spit. If you go in somebody's place serving them like how you serve somebody else, you may end up getting frustrated because they're not responding the right way.
Amen.
You see what I'm saying? So because Elijah was like a wild card, he needed somebody who was instinctual to say, uh-oh, no, I don't know about you. I'm not going to say that. Let me watch you for a second. Now, let's deal with that. You get people, can I just talk from my heart, I guess? You get people that says, well, I'm just watching. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm just watching. And years go by. That's not instinct. That's laziness. That's not instinct. Instinct is actually being aware and watching and saying, what is that? I want to help you there because I see a gap there. I see that you're tired here. Let me help you here. You see what I'm saying? It's an instinct where you just kind of just are looking for opportunities to minister. See, a lot of people that's jumping in ministry want to be the guy up here. They want to be the front runner. And that's okay to an extent, but sometimes you got to look at where are the gaps at. Yeah. There's a gap there. I'm going to do that because it looks like the broom is sweeping there. It looks like the broom tree is there. There's a gap there. It looks like you're hurting there. Let me help you there. But a lot of times we don't train people like that because if it's not something up here, we basically tell you it's not ministry unless it's singing or preaching or something up here that's exposed with these lights. And so all the other people think like, well, God, where's my ministry at? So you have to recognize, and I'm going to deal with this next week, but I'm going to jump ahead. There's 4 types of ways of ministry. There's the creative, there's the technical, there's the analytical, and there's the people. It's just like when you start a business. I do a lot of teaching or study when it comes to just business too. You need those kind of 4 personalities, even when it comes to a ministry. Now, a people personality is obviously somebody who belong up there because they can sway the crowd. They have influence. When they talk, people listen. So you need that personality in a ministry, but everybody's not the people person, okay? Then you need the analytical person. Those are the kind of people that's in ministry that they put plans together. You can tell them something and they can gather things together. They can make phone calls. They can make, you have a vision, and they're the kind of people that come back and ask for more questions. You can always tell when you got an analytical person in the ministry because they're always asking all these questions. They keep on coming back with questions because they're trying to get the whole picture. They need to see it so they can connect the dots. They need all the variables. That's an analytical person. Then you need the technical person. That's specialties, things with cameras and lights and people that know how to push buttons, people that know how to, make things happen because it's a technical kind of thing. Everybody don't know how to do the technical things. So you need people that just know how to follow orders that's technical. And then obviously you need the creative person. That's the person who comes up with ideas. We always do this. We need to do something like this. The church needs people like that. I'm sorry. Because if you just get stuck in a rut and you keep doing the same thing, that's because the creative person is not operating in their ministry. The creative person that says, let's change this, let's do this, let's try to. Now the creative person needs to team up with the analytical person. Yes. Because the creative person can come with the ideas, the analytical person can kind of get it together. Yeah. So you all need that, and then you can get behind the technical person and say, okay, what's my role? Okay, I'm gonna make sure the lights is on, make this, the camera, and then the people person comes in and gather everybody together. So you need those 4 things in a ministry. I'm just giving you a little of my good stuff, the kind of stuff that I study. But if it's just only one area or just one thing, then you're gonna see voids, you're gonna see gaps, you're gonna see a lot of things that's like, something is missing. You doggone right something missing. That personality is missing. I'm sorry, let me calm down. So, but you gotta be instinct. You gotta have enough instinct to know there's a gap here. And this almost kind of blends into the next point, but I'm gonna kind of jump ahead just for that sake. When you see gaps and you have an instinct to recognize the gap, one of the main things you have to do, the next point is actually, let's just go to it, is initiative. You gotta take the initiative. Once the instinct is there, you gotta have an initiative and say, I don't know how to do that, but let me learn how to do that so that you don't have to do that. Did you know that's ministry when it comes to just helps? It's a helps ministry where you may be the person that provides relief so that the other person won't have to run to the broom tree. So when he went to the cave, the Lord says, what are you doing here, Elijah? And he said, I'm the only one left. And the Lord said, I got 7,000 that I reserve myself. But this is what I want you to do. I want you to anoint Jehu to be the next king of Israel. I want you to anoint Hazael to be the next king of Aram. And I want you to anoint Elisha to be your next prophet to succeed you. And so he said, take your cloak to Elisha, and he's going to be your apprentice. Now, one thing about this story that I just love when it comes to the Elijah and Elisha, and this you can see this, I think, in one of those chapters. You all know the story, but just for the sake of time, he walked up to Elisha, and all he did was throw the cloak on him. Elisha had enough instinct to recognize, oh, this is my opportunity to help. And let that sink in. Because this is what most ministry is made of. You will get an opportunity, and then Elijah walks away. Elisha chased behind him and said, hold on, let me kiss my father goodbye. In other words, let me get my stuff in order, and then I'll help serve you. In other words, I recognize this is my opportunity. The next step is the ball is in my court. I'm not going to sit down and wait for you to tell me something. I am going to take enough initiative and say, this is where I can help you at. Where do you? And then he chased up behind him and said, hey, your hands look dirty. Let me pour some water on your hands. In other words, he started from where he was at. And it's like, I think a lot of times people need to kind of understand that factor, that there's gaps. And your ministry may just be just to pour water on people's hands. Your ministry may be the ministry that helps the minister. You see what I'm saying? Yes. And it doesn't mean that you're second class. It doesn't mean that you're bad. It just means that if you don't operate in your ministry, that broom tree is going to sweep him away. Yes. And so while all of us is trying to like push each other out the way to get up front, some people need to just say, I'm content with being behind and washing your hands. Yes. And they're going to get talked about because people say, oh, they got you brainwashed. They're going to do this. You're so funky. You're not even important. But if you recognize that is your call for that time, then wash the hands. Because Elijah needs Elisha just as much as Elisha needs Elijah. Elijah may be the man in charge right now, but Elisha's ministry of just washing his hands kept Elijah's ministry alive. Because if it wasn't for Elisha, then that would have been it for Elijah. You probably wouldn't even heard too much about him after that. But his ministry continued on because he had somebody he can lean on that's loyal, that's there. So he threw the cloak on him. And Elisha recognized, this is my moment to do anything I can do to help, to serve, okay? Why do I say that? It's because we have so many people who are just waiting for an opportunity. God gives them an opportunity, and they sit by and they say, I'm waiting for this person to come to me and tell me this. Sometimes it's not going to happen. Sometimes you have to recognize this is my opportunity, and I'm going to move from there. Because if not, Elijah will keep walking. He's not a big talker anyway. So you have to be the kind of person that has enough instinct to just say, okay, your personality is a little bit different. I understand that, I'm not used to that kind of thing. And that's why, when it comes to going to different churches, yes, I don't believe you can just go to any church. I really don't. I think that's a little dangerous. You have to know, at least, you got to have an instinct to know the personality of the church. Yes. You got to at least know what to expect, because you let anybody just talk over you, maybe it may not feed your ministry, because you have a ministry as well, and you have to be around people that also see that ministry and help give it life. But if you're around the wrong environment, then your ministry can be stifled. Does that make sense?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So he gave him the cloak, and Elijah took the initiative, because at this time, I'm not sure if you all know the history about Elisha. He was the son of a farmer who had the oxen and the cattle. Basically, they had their own small business. Okay, Elijah was going to take over the family business. Once Elijah came and put that cloak on him, he chopped up the oxen, chopped up his work, told his dad, I know you was depending on me for the family business, but I'm about to go follow this prophet. That's what I got to do. Even though I know I am trained and I have professional to this call that has been in my heart has been so loud that I have an opportunity to walk it out. And so a lot of times he chopped it down so that he won't have the temptation to come back to it. Because once you start doing things, oh, you got that now, don't you? A lot of times when you start going out in the ministry and it gets tough, you start looking at those oxen again. He had to chop it down. Because I don't want to have an option to go back to what's familiar. And a lot of times in ministry, you have to recognize this thing may hold me back, so I got to make sure I really close it. Otherwise, I'm going to be tempted when it gets tough to go right back to it. So he chopped the oxen, he chopped the bricks, and then he fed the people, and he did everything the right way. He closed it down. He didn't disrespect the thing. He told his family, but then he did the little party, fed the people, and then he followed Elijah. And a lot of times people's ministry is going to kind of look like that, where you have this call, and then it's almost like God says, okay, I want you to walk away from what you are used to. Now, of course, you go back and pray when it comes to this, because when you hear stuff like that, people are, oh, that's the Lord. Wait a minute. You better wait on timing. So the opportunity was there. A lot of times, ministry is going to be just that, just one opportunity, and then the ball's in your court, and initiative is recognizing this is my next move. That's what it is. Because too many people's ministry, and I hope y'all hear me when I say that. I'm saying it too many times. I hope it's not getting on your nerves. Too many people are waiting for somebody else to tell them what to do when it's already in you. You have to have initiative to just walk it out. Now, I would much rather walk it out and have somebody tell me, you're wrong, sit down or stop, than to me to just wait on somebody and then miss out on everything. You see what I'm saying? So some things you may say, I don't know how to do that, but I can learn. I don't know what this means, but guess what? I'm all ears. It's just like on your job. When they give you something new and you're not familiar with it, you just ask a whole bunch of questions. Yeah. Well, when it comes to working for the kingdom, you got to be the same way. There's going to be a lot of things that's going to be shifting. There's going to be a lot of things that's going to fall from this decade. There's going to be a lot of new things that's going to come in, and you got to know how to update your skill set when it comes to the ministry. Yes. So you may not be familiar with what's next, but guess what? Are you in a position where you can learn? Y'all getting this? All right. I think you put the darkness on it. You kind of messed it up, right? It's fine. You know how to fix that? The light on that phone? He messed it up a little bit. That's fine. I'll try to fix it when we get home. All right, the next thing is, again, pouring water on their hands. Whose hands have you poured water on? Have you been the kind of person that you want somebody to pour water on your hands, but you have never poured water on anybody else's hands? I mean, I think we got to ask ourselves that question, because that ministry of just washing the hands of that person is what's keeping the other ministry refreshed. I depend on your ministry. I have to. But that's the refreshing. Because I'm a worshiper too. I probably don't sing like her. But I'm a worshiper. And so when she worships and I sit there, that's the refreshing that I need. And so again, some people's ministry is for somebody else's ministry. It's not so much, and I hope y'all find a balance in that, it's not so much that they are called just to help the people that the other people are called to. They're mainly called to that person. Like my wife, she's called more to me than to the church. She is. I mean, if the church makes it or doesn't make it, she's still, and that's one of the things. I had one of those little broom tree experiences one week, and I was like, oh man, you know, because you look at inventory, and then you kind of like get in a pity party, and that broom just started coming in, right? And then I said, man, all my hotel people left, and all of this is like I'm starting all over again. And I said, I don't know what you know, I'm just kind of just talking, and then I heard her behind me. She says, I'm not leaving. I know, all right. When she said that, it just broke.
There you go.
You know, I was like, because I had that broom experience. And I was thinking, I don't know what's next. I don't know what's next. What if it doesn't work? And she says, whatever happens, I'm here. And then my sons, they're on the the technical things. It's like God has given you like something, somebody that says, if we make it or not, we're going to all give it our best shot.
Yes.
And it's like, what helps me to go, because I can't do it on my own. And I need people that says, hey, if we make it or if we don't make it, I'm not leaving. And I don't mean that to put anybody in bondage. I just mean that you have to have a certain, obviously my wife had the 100% loyalty factor, okay? But when it comes to us, we just have to make sure, are we fulfilling all of the loyalty that we said that we can do, okay? So please don't think that everybody has to have the 100% loyalty, because you're not called to be the quote-unquote Elisha, and that's okay. You don't have to feel bad about that, because your loyalty may be 60%. Work the 60% then. That's all you have to do. All right, so initiative. You got to have instinct. You got to have initiative. And the third thing is you got to have integrity. You got to have integrity. I mean, think about it. There's so many people that's in ministry, they just don't have any ministry integrity. Do what you said you're going to do. Just do what you said you're going to do. Because so many people say that, and then you let time go by, and you're like, oh, Lord. Integrity is a big thing. I'm real big when it comes to that. I mean, if you can't, then, communication is all good. But integrity is a good thing, because integrity is the very thing that happens when nobody is looking. It's the words you say, it's the things you do when nobody's around. And so Elijah put the cloak on Elisha, but the integrity factor has to still give birth. So you all can, in fact, let's just go there real quick. I know I'm kind of talking from my heart, but go to 2 Kings chapter 2. I'm just going to jump through a few things. If you have it on your phone, that's fine too. I know what age we living in, so it's all right. Nothing wrong with that phone. 2 Kings chapter 2. I'm just going to kind of read through the whole thing. You know the story, but let's just read it for the sake of knowing what's going on. 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 1. When the Lord was about to take Elijah up to heaven in a whirlwind, Elijah and Elisha were on their way to Gilgal. Everybody say Gilgal. Gilgal. Verse 2. Elijah said to Elisha, stay here. The Lord has sent me to Bethel. But Elisha said, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you. In other words, I know you're trying to tell me to move on, but God didn't release me yet. I can only go when I hear that God says, now is your time. Because circumstances, even from the leader, you stay, you're going, you're good. And he says, but you don't feel that sense from the Lord. So Elijah said, no, God's going to have to tell me this, because I'm called to wash your hands. And you may have a broom experience going on, Elijah, but I'm going to leave when the Lord says it's time. All right. But Elisha said, surely as the Lord lives, I will not leave you. So they both went to Bethel. And I love this part right here. The company of the prophets at Bethel came to Elisha and asked, do you know that the Lord is going to take your master from you today? In the same verse. Yes, I know, Elisha says, but don't speak about it. In other words, shut up all that noise. Don't be talking about it. Because this is one thing that you got to have when it comes to integrity. And where's my picture at on this one? You're doing good, Josh. So he went to Bethel, and he got surrounded by all of this crowd of people. And the crowd of people basically says, this is not going to work out. You probably need to move on and do something else. And Elijah said, shut up. Don't talk about that. Or, when I was serving in children's ministry and in the youth ministry, children's ministry at one church, and then when God moved me on, because God moved me on at the right time, and when I moved to another church, I ended up becoming the youth pastor there. And they didn't even know me from Adam. But it was one of those things because of how I left. That's what happened. But anyway, long story short, when I would serve at these churches, when I was a children's pastor and as well as a youth pastor at the other church, I would always run into just different people who had a problem with the pastor. You're always going to have that, all right? So these people would just kind of put that little whispering gossiping in your ear. I don't know why you're going to that church, and that person's... And you know what? I end up being like Elijah in a lot of cases. Shut up. I'll tell them, don't talk about him in front of me. They'll be around the dinner table, whatever, and they start, instead of having roast beef, they got roast the pastor. And then I'll be like, y'all need to stop talking about him while I'm here. At least wait till I leave before you talk about him. I don't want to hear that I go to his church, I serve there, and yes, he's a man, he probably has a little flaws, but y'all not going to talk about him in front of me. Ooh, that shut everybody up. That shut everybody up. And you know what? They stopped talking about him when I was there. When I would go on, they probably would roast him or whatever. But my point is, I didn't let anybody talk against that pastor because I'm serving him. And I'm loyal to him, I'm loyal to the ministry, I'm loyal to the kingdom. So just because you may have a problem with him does not mean I got a problem with him. You know, so I would have to shut people up because they were just not, you know, saying what I need to say. But that's the kind of integrity that I'm talking about. There's something that, you know, I didn't go back and tell the pastor, oh yeah, and these other people were talking about, no. It was something that nobody else knew. So what you say behind closed doors, what you do behind closed doors, what you know, there's a certain integrity that will qualify you for the blessing. And a lot of times people, they're in ministry, but their integrity is low. And you can't depend on them because they had no ministry integrity. And so that's why when it came to the people saying, you know, do this, because also, just kind of just, you know, put that on the other page. Other people will push you out there too fast. Oh, you anointed. You need to start your own thing. I'll come to your church if you start your church. They will not come. They ain't gonna come. They will not come. These people, these same people that push you out there so fast, they will not cross the street to come support you. So it's like you gotta wait on God. You jump out there before listening to the crowd, you're not gonna get the impartation. That was my fourth point. I'm at to set y'all up. God dog. But anyway, integrity. So listen, he said, we're going to Gilgal to Bethel. And let's just read verse 4 since we're there. Then Elisha said, stay here. The Lord has sent me to Jericho. And he replied, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you. So they went to Jericho. What am I saying? Sometimes it's going to look like you're going around in circles. Because they went from Bethel to Jericho. And again, he went to that city. And the same people said, you know, your master's going to be taken away today. He said, shut up. Don't worry about it. We good. So he could have stayed there, but he went to, he stayed with Elijah. And so that's what I mean. When it comes to that integrity part, I want you all to recognize that God does see what you say behind closed doors. He does. And he's trying to see, can he trust you with the ministry that he placed inside of you? You know, sometimes you got to qualify for your own ministry. Do you all know that? And it's based on how you wash somebody else's hands, how you serve somebody else. Don't you know there's certain people that are successful now is because they serve somebody else? You can link their ministry to the person who they serve because they were faithful serving there. Y'all see what I'm saying? And a lot of times people miss that because there's a certain integrity. Everybody's going to talk about you. They're going to say, you know, like I said before, you brainwashed or whatever. They may insult you like that, but what they don't understand is the loyalty factor. If you're going to be loyal, then that means you got to have integrity. You got to have instinct. You got to have, what's the other thing I just said? Initiative. All of that, right? And so he was following this guy, Elijah, up and down these mountains, and they went from Gilgal to Bethel to Jericho. It's like they're just kind of just going around in circles. And sometimes when you're serving people, it may feel like you're going around in circles. Where are we going? Where are we going, Pastor? Come on. Where that vision at? And it's like sometimes the man of God is just trying to keep up with God. And he just needs somebody to just kind of just wash his hands or put the cloak on him. You know, it's like I watched Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I'm a pastor that watched Lord of the Rings. Y'all know. Oh, I watched Lord of the Rings. And Sam was Mr. Frodo's servant, right? And he said, I can't carry the ring, but I can carry you. And sometimes that's what ministers need. I can't carry the whole burden, but I can help carry you. I can't do everything that you're doing, but maybe I can make it easier so that you can do what you're called to do. Is this making sense to you all? And I think if we look over the loyalty factor when it comes to just serving somebody, you probably looked over your whole ministry. So I think it's very key to learn how to just serve before you want somebody to serve you. And I know this is not one of those popular teachings when it comes to in ministry, because everybody wants to be up front, but it's nothing wrong with being behind the scene. It's nothing wrong. Like I said about my wife doing the camera, she loves doing the camera. She don't need to be up here. And some people, their ministry is, I don't need to be up front. There's nothing wrong with front, but if I need to just, help stack chairs or whatever, you would do just little things that other people are not thinking about, but you see that's the gap. And when you can just, stack the chairs or whatever, or vacuum the floor, just doing that, faithful, God can unlock your ministry just through a vacuum. And I'm just saying that because people will say that that's not glamorous. That ministry don't look glamorous. I don't want to do that. But you despising that little stacking chairs is what's keeping you from the ministry. So it may look like we're going in circles. But I'm going to go in circles with you, Elijah, until the Lord say, okay, you can stop. Because the crowd is telling me to stop. You're telling me to stop, but the Lord is silent on it. What do you do when God doesn't say anything? You keep on doing the very thing he told you last. The last thing he told you to do, you continue in that until God gives you updated orders from headquarters. That's how it flows. All right? So we're going to Jericho, he says. So they went to Jericho together. And it's like you always got this crowd that's behind you from a distance. And that's exactly what happens. There's always going to be people from behind. They're not on track for their ministry to bloom. They're kind of like behind the scenes watching from a distance. They're not active. They're just watching. They're spectators. I hope this teaching is making sense to you all, because these are one of those teachings that's in my heart that you want to say, but you just don't have an avenue to really say it. So I said, I guess it'll fit here in this kind of ministry training, because when people get in, they don't recognize, maybe I should wash the hands of somebody else a little bit before I jump out there. Ain't nobody holding back your ministry. I'm just saying that may be the case. You may be somebody's Elisha before you get anything that, God spoke that thing in your heart from the foundation of the world, it will come to pass. But at this time, he may want you to just wash this guy's hands, because this guy's about to give up. He needs you, Elijah. No, I want to be powerful. So Elijah goes on, and then Elijah dies. So the last thing is impartation. How do you get from there from impartation? It's because you spent all of that time being faithful and being loyal, so that when the time comes for impartation, you're ready to receive it. What is impartation? That means that's going to be the time where everything you have learned in your training with ministry, you're going to get your shot. Everything that's been inside of your heart that says, man, I want to do that, and you're so inspired by that, one day you're going to have your chance. The impartation. Where it's not that you can't call it. See, I got my mentors that I serve, and I can call them anytime. But there's a part of me that recognizes this is your shot. Everything you've learned from them, you now have to give it to your generation. And that's what happens when it comes to an impartation. You have all of the training that you had. But what if you're a person who never trained under anybody? Then you're fully unequipped then. You have nothing to say. So a lot of times God used your history to bring that impartation in. And so you have a little bit of everybody who's spoken to you. You got little glimpses of them inside of you, but it makes up you. So all of my heroes that I looked up to and I served and got inspired, you can kind of see little traits of them inside of me, but they're not them, they're not clones, but it's still me with some of that impartation, okay? And that's how it is right here. Elijah hit the Jordan River, you all know it, and it parted from left and right, okay? And so then Elijah, it had to have been the first time he looked at Elisha and says, what can I do for you? And then, you know the story, Elisha said, I want a double portion of your spirit. Elijah said, ooh, that's a hard thing. But if you see me when I'm taken up, then you'll have that request. Which lets me know that that's the first time Elisha said that to Elijah. He didn't come in the first time, got the cloak on him and said, oh yeah, by the way, I want that double portion. If I'm going to be serving you, I want that double portion. Give me that double portion. Get it right over here. No. He waited all the way to the end and did not vocalize it until the opportunity presented itself. He had enough patience to wait when the right timing was to make that kind of request. Sometimes we say things and we do things too fast and we disqualify. You have to wait on the timing. He turned around and says, what can I do for you? All of this time, Elisha, you've been serving me. How can I serve you? What can I do for you? And he says, I want the double portion. He said, okay, when I'm taken up, you'll have it. So they're walking and talking, and all of a sudden, you know the story, the chariots came between them and took up Elijah, forgive me, y'all know what I'm talking about. Elisha was so loyal that he was still chasing behind the chariots because that call was saying, I got to serve you. I got to serve you. How can I help? How can I help? He's chasing behind the chariots until the cloak fell down. When that cloak fell down, that's God's way of saying, okay, you're done. It's done. You can't serve him anymore. Now it's your turn. Are y'all getting this? It's awesome. Look, see, a lot of times people don't recognize, when it's time for you to launch out, you're not going to be late. A lot of times people think, oh, wasting my time here. No. It's an impartation that's happening. And then that cloak will drop, and you will get your chance. And so Elisha was running and chasing. I want to see, can I serve you? Until the cloak dropped. And then it says, where's the God of Elijah? He went to the Jordan River because he took the cloak. And he went to the Jordan River and said, where's the God of Elijah? Or, I'm sorry, he tore his own clothes. In other words, that's almost like, that's the way of letting me know, okay, it's finished. I've done everything I can. The Lord has released me. That's how I felt when I left Memphis. It's like I just knew once we crossed over that Memphis bridge, I knew, okay, the Lord closed that door. That was it. I wasn't coming back anymore. And then he grabbed the cloak and he went to the river. Where's the God of Elijah? You all know the story. He hit the Jordan River and it parted from left and right. And the people that was at a distance, they didn't get the impartation. They were spectators and they said, oh, he was taken away. Let's go look for him. Now, these are the same people that say he's going to be taken away. But he says, let's go look for him. And Elisha says, no, don't worry about looking for him. It's done now. Okay? And my last picture right here is, so they all recognize that he's the next person that has taken that spirit of Elijah. He has the right type of impartation because he was loyal. Yes. God trusted him with the next level of ministry. And you know what? Again, the reason why he got the impartation is because he knew how to wash the hands of Elijah. That's all he did. You don't see anywhere that he did any of the other miracles until after this test has taken place. But at that same time, he just made sure Elijah was warm when it was cold. He made sure his hands were clean when his hands got dirty. All he did was just serve him. What can I do to help? How can I make this easy on you? And by that, the Lord trusted him with that double portion, just from washing the hands. But we don't have a lot of that nowadays. And I just think it's a subject that needs to be talked about when it comes to loyalty. Because that is the next thing for some people's ministries. That's enough, Josh. So did y'all get anything out of that? Yes. Good. And so I'm only telling you all that because I know everybody has ministries. But if we don't learn the loyalty factor, we kind of stifle ourselves. Okay? So I think that's all I got to say.
Thank you for listening to Upon the Rock broadcast. If you enjoyed this message, please visit the church website at thefoundedworld.org for a free download. Also, please be sure to share this message with your family and friends on social media sites to help spread the word of God. Have a great week.